Hello and welcome back to my channel. So great to have you here hanging out with me. For those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you know it is my goal to save and heal all relationships, because if there's one thing I believe in, it is love. So I thought I would do a series on each sign, the good and the bad traits, and give a bit of a guide giving you the top 3 do's, the things to do in order to bring out the best in the person that you're with, and the top 3 don'ts, which would obviously be the things not to do. This way you can do your part to make sure you don't trigger the person that you're with into behaving from their negative traits. And yes, everyone is responsible for their own behavior, but in a relationship, it is best if you work as a team and both have involvement and take responsibility for the well-being of each other. So in this video, we will focus on Aries. I've also received many requests to do the cusps of signs, so I'm also going to give you the goods on the cusps of Aries and how that affects their personality traits. And I'm also going to give you the biggest difference between a male Aries and a female Aries. And last but not least, I'm going to give you the best soulmate matches for Aries. So hopefully, if you have an Aries in your life, this will help you to deepen the connection and create a thriving relationship with the oh so lovable Ram. Okay, so no more wasting time. Here are the good and bad qualities of Aries and a quick guide on how to get the best version of them in a relationship. Let's go. Okay, so here are some positive traits of Aries, and then I will give you the top 3 do's in order to bring out the best in your Aries. So some positive traits of Aries are they're energetic, optimistic, open to change, and idealistic. Aries is fiery just like the element fire, and because of this, they are never really lacking in the physical energy department, so they are definitely energetic. And one of the most beautiful things about Aries is their way of initially looking at how something is going to work out instead of thinking how it won't work out. When they're in a good space, they're always thinking in terms of a favorable outcome whenever they take on a task or a challenge. So they are definitely optimistic. Now, even though Aries is very clear on what they want and how they want it, they are still very much open-minded if you bring them a new perspective that makes sense and you have a sense of excitement and optimism when you share it with them. And for sure, another great trait about Aries is they are idealistic. This is similar to optimistic, but it takes it to an even deeper level and brings out the more emotional, romantic side of Aries. This is where they truly believe in the goodness of mankind. Their initial way of looking at things is in the best light possible, and when they're in a good place emotionally, this is the lens through which they see the world, with an innocent and romantic perspective. Now, in order to get the best version of Aries, where they are expressing the positive traits of their sign, here are the top 3 do's. Number 1, do communicate with them directly. Aries are going to be direct with you and will respond favorably if you're direct with them. They don't want to read between the lines, and actually, if you expect them to get a hint or to read between the lines, you will be sadly disappointed. They are not the types that are wondering, I wonder what they meant by that, or what are they thinking right now? They feel like you should say what you mean and mean what you say. So the more you keep it real and out in the open, the smoother the connection with your Aries will be. Number 2, do express your emotions for them willingly and with passion. Aries are a very lovable sign. They are the baby of the fire signs, and that innocent when it comes to love is very pure and vulnerable. So you'll do well with your Aries if you tell them how you feel with your words, but also show them how you feel with physical affection and action. Remember, Aries are very black and white in the way that they think and see things. And like I said, they're not trying to read between the lines. So if you want them to know that you care for them, it must be shown. It can't be lurking under layers of shyness or insecurity. And number 3, do take initiative. If you want to get along with your Aries, they need to know that you are willing to make things happen, not just sit back and watch them do everything. Yes, they are initiators, and they will more than likely take the leading role much of the time, but they do love it and appreciate it when they see that you're willing to put forth effort into the relationship and into the things that matter to both of you. A little effort goes a long way with your Aries. If you keep these dudes going strong, you will experience the purity of your Aries love, their innocence and their raw courage, their belief that anything is possible, and their belief in you and the relationship. Now, when Aries gets triggered, this is what you can expect from the dark side of Aries. They become impulsive, self-centered, domineering, and thoughtless. Now remember, this is only when they're operating from the dark side of who they are. And like it or not, we all have a dark side. Impulsive comes about when they get frustrated and just start making decisions without running them by the person that they're with. They go from we straight to I, and without any consideration of how the other person feels about these choices. The self-centered trait plays right along with the impulsive behavior because they are now operating only from what they want, which also leads them to being domineering, which means anyone or anything that stands in their way will accept being bossed around by them to become part of their agenda, or will be left in the dust, which if you're in a relationship and you feel the person you're with is leaving you in the dust, this can for sure be considered thoughtless. Now here are the don'ts, the things not to do to make sure that you don't unnecessarily trigger the Aries in your life, which will hopefully help you in keeping the connection with them strong. Okay, number 1, don't play the blame game. If someone goes wrong in the relationship, don't start debating whose fault it is. Aries can be pretty competitive and also pride themselves in doing their best to do the right thing at all times. So if you come at them blaming them for something, they're going to defend themselves and then explain to you why you are wrong. This is a waste of time and energy for both of you and will only fuel their fire. And trust me, if you fuel the angry fire of an Aries, you will get burned. So when something goes wrong, approach it from a team perspective and go directly to what the two of you can do together in the future to keep the situation from happening again, while discussing the best solution that both of you feel good about. But stay away from blaming. All right, number 2, don't take things personally. Like I said before, Aries are very direct, and because they are the youngest sign of the zodiac, they can very innocently make a comment that could be taken the wrong way. But more times than not, they aren't really thinking, hey, is this a sensitive topic? Will this person take this seriously? It's like when a child looks at your face and you have a pimple and they say, what's that on your face? Or what happened to your face? It's a very innocent and direct observation, but you don't take it personally because it wasn't coming from a malicious place. Aries aren't very malicious, so even if they say something that's a little iffy, give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't take it personally, and if you want anything clarified, like wanting to know what they meant by a certain comment that they made, then just ask them. Remember, being direct is great. They will be more than happy to explain and clear up any miscommunication. Number 3, don't ever try and tell them what to do. Like I've said before in other videos, Aries are a cardinal sign, a leader sign. And even though they can be bossy at times, they don't respond well when someone tries to boss them around. The best way to approach them if you want them to do something is saying, hey, I would love it if you would do this or that, and then ask them what they think about that. Make sure they know that you are open to their thoughts or feelings on the subject, and they will respond much more favorably. And even if they don't want to do your exact request, you two can move forward and negotiate a solution to your request that both of you feel good about. Because if you just bark out a command to an Aries, you will see just how stubborn they can be. But if they know the reason they're doing it is because it will make you happy and means a lot to you, they will be much more likely to at least get close to what it was that you're asking for. So now that you have the do's and don'ts, it's important to know there are many different versions of Aries because we're not just our sun sign. For the different versions of Aries with regard to how their personality will be affected depending on what their moon sign is, check out my video titled Dating an Aries. The second half is all about the different versions based on the element of the moon sign. If you're new to astrology and don't know what a moon sign is, check out either of these 2 videos where I explain what your moon sign is and why it's important. Now, the biggest difference between a male Aries and a female Aries is the Aries male is going to be much less worried about consequences. Not to say he doesn't care what happens, it's actually quite the opposite. He cares very much about what happens. He's just focused on what he wants and expects things to go his way. So when he's thinking of what's going to happen, he only entertains the outcome he wants to see. Whereas an Aries female is going to have a little bit more forethought and will think more in terms of consequences even when she's going after what she wants. Also, the Aries female, even though obviously both Aries male and female are both leaders, the Aries female will be more concerned with getting people on board with whatever idea she has. Whereas the Aries male, if you aren't into jumping onto his agenda immediately, he isn't too concerned about the idea of going at it alone. He's perfectly fine just saying, I'll do it by myself. He's gonna get done what he wants to get done regardless of who's coming along for the ride. Now, the Aries female doesn't have a problem doing things on her own either. She just does take into consideration more so trying to get people involved with it first. Now, if push comes to shove and she has to do it on her own, not a problem. Both Aries, male and female, will go for it solo, no issues. Now let's talk about cusps. So for those of you that are new to astrology, a cusp basically means those people born right when another sign is about to begin. So there are 2 cusps for each sign. For example, when Pisces is ending and Aries is beginning, or when Aries is ending and Taurus is beginning. So if you're an Aries and you're born on a cusp, that means you have a birthday in the time frame between March 21st and March 25th, or in the time frame of April 15th to April 19th. It's important to note that it does not change the fact that you are an Aries, nor does it change the traits of your overall sign, but it does tend to amplify or diminish certain traits because of the energy of the sign right before or right after. So when it comes to the March 21st to March 25th cusp, this would be an Aries with some Pisces tendencies. You will still have that part of you that can be impulsive and headstrong, but you will also have a major part of you that desires peace and spiritual solitude. In romantic relationships, you'll be even more sensitive and compassionate. This will also lead to your depth of creativity, your generosity, your empathic nature, and it will also make you even more compatible with Pisces energy romantically. Now, those Aries that are born April 15th through April 19th, this will make you an Aries with Taurus tendencies. You will be impatient like all Aries are, but you will also be very determined and much more stubborn than the typical Aries. This actually helps a lot with the fact that most Aries are known for being great starters and not the best finishers, but you having those Taurus tendencies will lend to you being much more capable of seeing a task through to the end. You'll also give much more attention to your home surroundings and be a little bit more concerned with how neat and clean everything around you is. This will also bring out your traditionally romantic side and lend to you being much more compatible with the Taurus than an Aries usually is. Which leads me to the next topic, which is Aries and their best match for soulmates. So I'm going to break this down into 3 categories. First category is the best matches for Aries in no particular order. So the absolute best match for Aries would be Sagittarius, Aquarius, Leo, and Gemini. The second category are the signs that can work for Aries but will definitely be tricky and take some extra work. These signs would be Pisces, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, and being with another Aries. The third category would be the most challenging matches for Aries, which would be Cancer, Scorpio, and because I personally feel, based on all my experience doing readings, that it is very difficult to be in a relationship with your polar opposite due to the fact that there will be a lot of bickering brought on from seeing the world from 2 completely opposite perspectives. So the third on this list of most challenging matches would be Libra. Now remember, this is general because it's only based on the sun sign, and knowing the entire chart, the moon sign, the rising sign, and Venus placement are going to play a major role in compatibility, and this is just the sun sign compatibility, and will mostly indicate if you will have things in common and how differently or similarly you will see the world intellectually. You would have to check the moon signs for emotional compatibility and Venus for how the 2 of you experience pleasure and the type of energy that you're attracted to and why. But just for the sake of this video, we're referencing sun signs. Now, if you want to see a quick synopsis of the relationship with Aries in each of these signs, check out my Instagram page. I have a post that says Aries compatibility, and we'll break down an Aries with a Taurus, all through each sign of the zodiac. So you might want to check that out to get deeper into the compatibility with each sign. So there you have it, the do's and don'ts of dating an Aries and some extra info on cusps, the biggest difference between a male Aries and a female Aries, and a compatibility breakdown when it comes to finding a soulmate. Hopefully this helps you if you're in a relationship with or interested in being in a relationship with the courageous, lovable, sometimes demanding, assertive, yet extremely passionate sign of Aries. I hope you all enjoyed this information. If you did, please hit that like button. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video.